Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into mindful morning routines. Those practices that can set you up for a more peaceful and productive day.
It's fascinating how these seemingly small changes to how we start our day can have such a ripple effect on our overall well-being.
Right. And we've got a great mix of sources to draw from today.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything from a blog post called Morning Calm to a really lively Reddit thread where people are sharing their favorite affirmations. It's like a treasure trove of ideas for how to create a morning ritual that feels really good.
And what I love about these sources is they highlight that a mindful morning routine isn't about adding more to our to-do list.
Definitely not.
It's about being intentional. It's
Yeah.
about creating a space for ourselves where we can connect with our inner peace and set a positive tone for the day ahead.
So true. So, speaking of setting a positive tone, Morning Calm suggests kicking off your day with a gratitude practice, just listing three things, anything that you're grateful for.
And there's actual science backing this up. Studies have shown that practicing gratitude can actually rewire our brains to focus on the positive, leading to increased happiness and resilience.
Wow, so it's like a mental reset button, right?
Exactly. Instead of dwelling on what's wrong, we're intentionally shifting our attention to what's good. And that can have a huge impact on our mood and outlook.
I love that. And Morning Calm doesn't stop there.
hmm
They also talk about combining gentle stretches with deep breaths as you wake up.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. Deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms us down.
Sending that chill signal throughout our body.
And while you're taking those deep, calming breaths, incorporating some gentle stretches can really help you shake off any sleepiness or tension that's built up overnight.
So maybe some neck rolls, some shoulder shrugs, even just reaching your arms overhead.
It's amazing how much tension we hold in our bodies without even realizing it. Even a few minutes of mindful stretching can make a huge difference.
So we've got gratitude for a happy brain, stretching for a relaxed body. Morning Calm also dives into the idea of transforming those everyday routines, like making your morning coffee or tea, into mindful moments.
So often we just rush through those routines on autopilot, but what if we actually slowed down and paid attention?
Yeah, I'm totally guilty of that, just gulping down my coffee without even tasting it.
Right. But imagine if we really savored each sip, noticed the aroma, the warmth, the taste.
It's like turning that everyday routine into a mini meditation, a chance to really be present.
Exactly. And that ability to be present, to focus on the moment, that's a skill that can benefit us in so many areas of our lives.
So we're rewiring our brains for positivity, relaxing our bodies, and finding mindfulness in those everyday moments. What other gems does Morning Calm offer for crafting a mindful morning routine?
Well, they highlight the power of setting a positive intention for the day, choosing a specific quality you want to focus on or a goal you want to achieve.
Okay, so instead of just letting the day happen to me, I'm consciously choosing how I want to show up, like setting my internal compass for a more meaningful day.
Precisely. It's about taking ownership of your day and aligning your actions with your values. And it doesn't have to be anything grand or complicated. It could be as simple as today, I will be kind to myself, or today, I will focus on being present.
I love that. It's not about forcing ourselves to be happy all the time, but choosing a way of being that we want to cultivate. But what happens when things inevitably get tough? Life throws us curveballs. How does setting an intention actually help us navigate those unexpected challenges?
That's where the real magic happens. When we're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, we can come back to that intention. It acts like an anchor, reminding us of how we want to respond, even in the midst of difficulty.
It's like having a little mantra for the day, something to ground us when we feel ourselves getting pulled off track. I can see how that would be really helpful for staying focused and avoiding those knee-jerk reactions we all have when things don't go our way.
It's about creating that space between stimulus and response, giving ourselves the chance to choose our reaction rather than just reacting automatically.
Okay, so we've talked about gratitude, stretching, mindful moments, and setting intentions. All great stuff from that Morning Calm blog post. Now, I want to switch gears a bit and tap into that Reddit thread you mentioned where folks are sharing their favorite affirmations.
Speaking of shaping our mindset, that Reddit thread really highlights the power of affirmations. It's not just about positive thinking, it's about actively rewiring those internal dialogues we have with ourselves.
So instead of just hoping for the best, we're actually taking steps to change those thought patterns. What's the psychology behind this? How can simply repeating positive statements actually make a difference in our lives?
Well, our thoughts have a powerful influence on our emotions and behaviors. If we're constantly bombarded with negative self-talk, it impacts how we feel about ourselves and how we interact with the world.
Makes sense. Like those negative thoughts become self-fulfilling prophecies.
Hmm.
But how do affirmations break that cycle?
By consciously choosing positive statements, we interrupt those negative thought patterns and start replacing them with more empowering beliefs. Even if we don't fully believe those affirmations at first, just the act of repeating them can begin to shift our internal dialogue.
So it's about creating a new narrative, one that's based on self-compassion and strength. And this Reddit user, Gonker Stuffed Bird, shared a whole list of affirmations. Some of them are so powerful.
Oh, I saw that list too. Really inspiring stuff.
Imagine starting your day with affirmations like, I am worthy of love and happiness, or I am capable of achieving my goals, or even just, I choose to focus on the positive.
It's like giving ourselves a pep talk from our wisest, most loving selves. Instead of listening to that inner critic, we choose to listen to a voice of encouragement and support.
And the best part is, we don't have to wait for someone else to give us that pep talk. We have the power to do it ourselves every single morning.
Exactly. We have everything we need within us to cultivate a more positive and empowered mindset.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. Gratitude, stretching, mindful moments, intentions, and affirmations. It's amazing how these seemingly small practices can have such a big impact on our well-being. And what I love is that they're all so accessible. You don't need any special equipment or hours of free time to make these practices a part of your life.
That's what makes them so sustainable.
Yeah.
It's not about overhauling our entire lives, but finding those small shifts that can make a big difference over time.
It's about creating a personalized morning routine that feels nourishing and supportive, not overwhelming or stressful.
Yeah.
Maybe you start with just one technique, like that gratitude list first thing when you wake up.
Right. Start small.
And then as you start to feel the benefits, maybe you add in a few minutes of stretching or a quick round of affirmations.
Exactly. It's all about finding what works for you and building from there. It's about creating a morning ritual that feels like self-care, not another item on your to-do list.
I love that. A morning ritual that feels like self-care. So important. Now, I know you mentioned that there was some interesting discussion in that Reddit thread about the role of things like caffeine in a mindful morning routine.
Yes, there was a bit of debate about that. One user argued that caffeine is inherently stressful for the body and suggested cutting it out entirely.
But then another user chimed in, saying that, moderate caffeine consumption is generally considered safe. And they pointed out that lots of people actually find it enjoyable and helpful for focus.
Right, and it's a good reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to mindful morning routines. What works for one person might not work for another. And it's important to listen to our own bodies, to pay attention to how different things make us feel.
Exactly. We have to find what feels good for us, what supports our individual needs and preferences. So it's about honoring our own unique well-being and creating a routine that sets us up for success, both mentally and physically.
It really is. And it's also about recognizing that creating a mindful morning routine is a journey, not a destination.
I like that. A journey, not a destination.
Some mornings will flow effortlessly, and then other mornings, well, you might just hit the snooze button a few extra times.
Or a few dozen extra times.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's okay. It's about progress, not perfection. It's about being kind to ourselves along the way.
I think that's a key takeaway here. Giving ourselves permission to experiment, to find what works for us, and to be kind to ourselves throughout the process.
Absolutely. It's about embracing the journey and recognizing that every morning is a fresh start, a new opportunity to connect with ourselves and create a day filled with peace, intention, and maybe even a little bit of joy.
So true. And speaking of joy, Morning Calm introduces an exercise called, I love this name, the breath of joy.
Oh, I love that one. It's so invigorating.
Have you tried it?
Yeah, it's a combination of deep breathing and arm movements that really gets the energy flowing. So as you inhale deeply, you raise your arms overhead, and then as you exhale, you bend forward, letting your arms swing down towards the ground.
I can already feel the energy shift just hearing you describe it. It's like a shot of espresso for your spirit.
Exactly. It's such a fun and effective way to shift your mood and boost your energy levels, and it only takes a few minutes.
Love that.
Yes.
This is such a great reminder that taking care of our mental and emotional well-being doesn't have to be complicated. It's about those small, intentional actions we take each day.
It really is. It's about finding those little moments throughout our day to pause, to connect with ourselves, and to bring a little bit of mindfulness and intention to whatever we're doing.
I love that. It's like weaving those threads of calm and intention into the very fabric of our lives.
Beautifully said. It's about infusing our lives with mindfulness, moment by moment. And as we do that, we create a richer, more meaningful experience for ourselves and everyone around us.
And as we continue our deep dive into mindful morning routines, I'm curious to know if there are any other simple yet powerful practices that people can incorporate into their mornings, maybe things we haven't touched on yet.
You know, one technique that often gets overlooked is mindful walking.
Mindful walking, I like that.
Yeah. It's about bringing that same present moment awareness we've been talking about to the simple act of walking.
Okay, so instead of rushing from point A to point B, we're actually paying attention to the sensations of our feet on the ground, the movement of our body, the
Exact.
sights and sounds around us.
You got it. And you can do this anywhere, whether you're walking to work, taking a stroll around the block.
Even just walking from one room to another, I guess.
Absolutely.
What are some of the benefits of mindful walking? I imagine it can be a great way to de-stress and clear your head.
Oh, absolutely. It's a wonderful way to ground yourself in the present moment, to connect with your body, and to just appreciate the beauty of your surroundings.
Yeah, I can see that.
And research has shown that mindful walking can actually reduce anxiety, improve mood, and even boost creativity.
Wow, that's amazing.
It really is. It's
Yeah.
like a moving meditation,
I love that.
a way to bring mindfulness into even the most ordinary activities.
So simple, yet so powerful.
Exactly. And the great thing is, you don't need any special equipment or training. You can simply start by paying attention to your breath as you walk, noticing the sensations in your feet as they connect with the ground, and observing the sights, sounds, and even smells around you.
I love how we keep coming back to the simplicity of these practices.
It's not about adding more to our already busy lives,
Right.
but about finding those little moments to pause, to connect, and to cultivate a sense of peace and presence.
And speaking of simple yet powerful practices, we haven't yet touched on the topic of journaling.
Oh, journaling is a fantastic tool. It's like having a conversation with yourself on paper. It allows you to explore your thoughts and feelings in a safe and non-judgmental space.
What are some tips for incorporating journaling into a mindful morning routine?
Well, one simple technique is to start by writing down 3 things you're grateful for.
Oh, I like that.
It helps to shift your focus to the positive and set a tone of appreciation for the day ahead.
It's like a mini gratitude practice, right?
Exactly.
That can have a ripple effect on your entire day. What other types of journaling prompts might be helpful for creating a sense of calm and clarity?
You could try writing about your intentions for the day, exploring any challenges you're facing, or simply reflecting on your dreams and aspirations.
So it's not about forcing ourselves to write pages and pages,
No, not at all.
but about finding a way to connect with our inner world and make sense of our experiences.
Exactly. And sometimes the simplest prompts can lead to the most profound insights.
It's like giving ourselves permission to be curious, to explore, and to discover new facets of ourselves.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
So, mindful walking and journaling. 2 more great additions to our mindful morning routine toolkit.
And as we move towards wrapping up our deep dive, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the idea of personalization.
Oh, yes. That's so important. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to mindful morning routines.
Exactly. What works for one person might not work for another,
Right.
and that's perfectly okay.
So it's about being willing to experiment, to try different things,
Absolutely.
and to see what feels good in our own bodies and minds.
It's about creating a morning ritual that feels like a gift to yourself,
Yes.
a way to nourish your soul and set yourself up for a more peaceful and fulfilling day.
And as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I want to encourage our listeners to reflect on what they've learned so far and consider which practices they might like to try incorporating into their own mornings. It's about taking those small steps, one day at a time, to create a morning routine that truly supports their well-being.
Beautifully said. And remember, even a few minutes of mindful practice can make a world of difference.
Welcome back. As we wrap up our exploration of these morning routines, I think a big question a lot of people have is, how much time do I actually need to set aside to make this work?
That's a great question, and I think it's one of the biggest barriers for people. They think, oh, I have to add another hour to my morning, and it feels so overwhelming.
Right, like who has time for that?
Exactly. But here's the good news. Even just a few minutes of mindful practice can make a huge difference.
Really? Just a few minutes.
It's not about adding hours to your morning. It's about being intentional with the time that you do have.
So it's about quality over quantity, when it comes to building a mindful morning routine.
Exactly. It's about choosing practices that really resonate with you and dedicating even just 5 or 10 minutes to them.
I love that. Making those small moments really count.
Absolutely. And remember, consistency is key. It's better to practice for a few minutes each day than to try and cram it all into one long session once a week.
Yeah, that makes sense. Creating a sustainable habit over time.
Exactly. And as you're thinking about creating your own personalized routine, I encourage you to start by identifying your needs and goals. What are you hoping to achieve with a mindful morning routine?
Right. Are you looking to reduce stress, boost your mood, increase your focus, or maybe just create a sense of calm and peace in your life?
Once you have a clear sense of what you're aiming for, then you can start experimenting with different practices.
And it's okay to mix and match. You might find that certain things work better on different days, or you might like a combination of different techniques.
Absolutely. You could start with a few minutes of gratitude journaling, then some gentle stretches, and a quick mindful walk. Or maybe you prefer a guided meditation followed by some creative time, like drawing or writing.
So many possibilities.
Yeah,
It's all about finding what feels good and what brings you joy.
exactly. And your routine can evolve. What works for you today might not work for you a month from now, so be open to experimentation.
It's all about embracing that journey, allowing yourself to grow and evolve over time.
Beautifully said. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into mindful morning routines, I want to leave our listeners with a few final thoughts.
Yes, please do. What are some of the key takeaways you want to emphasize?
Well, first and foremost, remember that even small intentional actions can have a profound impact. Start small, be consistent, and be kind to yourself.
I love that. Be kind to yourself. It's so important.
And second, personalize your routine. There's no right or wrong way to practice mindfulness. Find what resonates with you, find what brings you joy. And finally, remember that mindfulness is a lifelong journey. Embrace the process, be open to learning, and trust that you have the power within you to create a more peaceful and fulfilling life.
Those are such wise words. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to experiment. Find what resonates with you and embrace the power of those small, mindful moments. Because sometimes the smallest shifts can create the most profound transformations. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into mindful morning routines. Until next time, may your mornings be filled with peace, intention, and maybe even a little bit of joy.